Identifying parallel and perpendicular lines from equations. The equations of three lines are given below. Line 1 equals y equals 5 halves x minus 6. Line 2 is 4x minus 10y equals negative 2. And line 3 is 2y equals 5x plus 7. For each pair of lines, determine whether they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so we're going to be looking at all these different combinations. Now, we already know that if we're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines, we need to know about the slope of these lines. Because parallel lines, let me draw a little picture here. Okay, oh, I didn't realize that was off the page. Let me try again. Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so the first slope equals the second slope. Okay, but perpendicular lines, which means lines at right angles, okay, those slopes are different. In fact, they're opposite reciprocals, okay? So the fraction flips and it becomes opposite. So if it's positive, then it's a negative. If it's a negative, then it's positive, okay? So I need to come look at the slopes of each of my lines here. Now, I like to think about these lines in y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form, because then I can see the slope right in the equation. So I can see that line 1 is already in y equals mx plus b form. So I can see my slope right away. There it is. So the slope in line 1 is 5 halves. Okay, that's all I need to know for line 1. So what I want to do is see if I have the same slope in lines 2 or 3 or the opposite reciprocal. Okay, so this line 2, however, is not in y equals mx plus b form yet. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that equation down here, and I'm going to solve it for y. I'm going to rearrange it for y so that it is in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so I'm trying to get the y alone. So I need to move the 4x to the other side by subtracting. So I get negative 10y equals negative 4x minus 2. And then to get the y by itself, I need to divide by negative 10. Okay, now we know that when we divide the whole side by negative 10, it really splits up and divides every piece by negative 10 like this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move over here, and let's simplify. Negative 4 over negative 10, first of all, I lose my negatives because they become positive. So I just have to simplify 4 over 10. I can divide a 2 out of both of those. So I'm going to divide a 2 out of the 4. So I'm going to have y equals 2 over, and if I divide a 2 out of the 10, I get a 5. So I get 2/5 x, and then again I have a negative negative, so it's going to become positive, plus, and let's simplify this. I can divide a 2 out of the top and the bottom, so I get 1/5. So this is the equation for line 2. Okay, so this one here became y equals 2/5 x plus 1/5. So now that it's in y equals mx plus b form, I can find my slope. So my slope for line 2 is 2/5. So it's almost the same, but not quite. Okay? Now last but not least, I need to do the same thing for line 3. And again, it's almost in y equals mx plus b form, but not quite. So I need to get this y alone. So if I put 2y equals 5x plus 7, I just need to solve for y. So I divide by 2 everywhere to get the y by itself. So I get 5 halves x plus, and I can't simplify 7 halves. So this right here is the equation for line 3 now. Okay, so my line 3 became y equals 5 halves x plus 7 halves. So my slope in this one is 5 halves. So we're going to be comparing this slope, and this slope to answer these questions. So all we've done so far is look to find the slope or rearrange to find the slope in each of these. Okay, so let's talk about the questions. It says lines 1 and 2. So here we have line 1 as the slope is 5 halves, and line 2, the slope is 2/5. Now, they're not the same because they flip-flopped, but they're not perpendicular because in order to be perpendicular, one of these would have to be negative so that they would be opposites. So they are reciprocal, but they're not opposite, so they're not perpendicular. So this one is neither. Lines 1 and 3, this one and this one, we have 5/2 and 5/2. So we have the same slope, which tells me they're parallel. Okay? And then line 2 and 3, we have the same problem again. 2/5 and 5/2, they're reciprocals, which means they flipped, but they're not opposite because they're both positive. So this one's also neither. Okay? So just to remind you, parallel, the slopes are the same. Perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. So if the first slope is A over B, then the other slope has to be negative B over A. It flip-flops like this, and one becomes negative. So you just have to be careful about that.